The only paper in the program that's about collaboration between an African country and either Latin American or European country. And this is really very, very interesting. In October, I was in Mozambique, and I've not been in the country that is discussed here. This is Guinea-Bissau, ex-Portuguese colony, I suppose, Portuguese speaking. But what I read here is similar to what I saw in Mozambique. Economically very poor, Portuguese speaking, very poor communication technology, low per capita income, very great need for basic education and higher education. And both countries have suffered from civil war in recent years. So although I don't know Guinea-Bissau, I could imagine this problem from what I saw in Mozambique. And apparently what Rosangela and her colleague Bernardo were involved in the University of Brasilia was discussing with one of the universities in Guinea-Bissau. And I don't know if there's more than one important university. I know in Mozambique there's really only one important university. It's probably the same in Guinea-Bissau. So discussing what they could do from University of Brasilia to help develop an answer to the education and training problem in Guinea-Bissau. And there's only one answer for any of these countries. It's got to be a distance education approach. What they could do to help in that problem. I just noticed here on the paper it says 50% below the poverty line of the people, and almost the same proportion of people being illiterate. So it's a typical problem in the really poor African countries. Most of the really poor countries of the world are in Africa. And as I understand from the paper, they developed 3 related projects. One was to help train local expertise in distance education, the formation of local expertise. And in the paper it says something about the content, and even it names the modules that it was proposed to teach to the new distance educators in Guinea-Bissau. As I glance at it, it looks like it might have a little bit of the problem that I saw in Mozambique, which is being a little too academic. If you're going to train people to work in a very poor, largely rural environment, the theory of distance education doesn't really matter too much. It's how do you design a course using the simplest technology and get it to the people and get the learner support and evaluate progress. Whether it's transactional distance actually doesn't matter. So there's a tendency sometimes to be a little too academic. I'm not saying it is the case. It's a problem that we have noticed. And they have a unit on multimedia. They have a unit on training instructional designers, material developers, training managers, This morning, Commonwealth of Learning was mentioned. I know English speaking primarily, and this relationship is based on the Portuguese language, but Commonwealth of Learning do some of these training for African countries very well, so you might want to look at what they do. The second project, equipping the local university there in Guinea-Bissau with a distance education unit, helping them set up the infrastructure, developing the professional profiles. Again, quite a challenge in any environment where the only mindset about higher education is classical view of the professor. And as someone said earlier, getting the idea that we don't need 5 professors, we need 3 professors, but one really good instructional designer and somebody who knows about technology. And we can do as much, or we can do better than we can with 5 professors. Getting that change of idea about the relationship of the content expert to the delivery and learner support is a big challenge. So they've got an organizational structure here for their proposal for developing what they call the distance education unit in that university. And then finally, well, perhaps that was the final one. I thought there was another one. Yes, the third one, that's right, the third one was to develop some pilot projects, and that's indeed what we did in Mozambique also. That's a very good strategy, by the way. If any of you are involved in consulting about introducing distance education projects into this kind of environment, don't try to persuade everybody don't try and convert everybody at the same time, because you can't do it. Don't try and develop a large program at the same time, because you can't do it. You can't do it because of the lack of the amount of money you got, the expertise you got, and above all, the time you've got. The ministry doesn't want to give you enough time, they don't want to give you enough money, and you don't have enough expertise. But say to them, look, give us the opportunity to develop one course that we'll deliver to one province or one part of a province over a 1-year period. And if you can get the resource to develop just some part, so just as I say, a course, then the success of that demonstrates far better than any amount of argument or explanation or reading could do that distance education will meet the objectives of the country and of the ministry. Of course, it's got to be successful. It's got to be successful. If you say, give us a chance to prove it, and it doesn't work, there's hundreds of people standing there just waiting to say, aha, we told you it won't work. We told you it won't work. So, focus, get the resource to do it and do it well, make it succeed. Then the people who were part of that project will become the advocates for that approach. So apparently what they were doing was very much on that line, was developing some pilot projects to demonstrate the viability of the plan. So it's Guinea-Bissau, Portuguese-speaking, very poor African country, and the University of Brasilia, and Rosangela and her colleagues were part of the conceptualization and planning of the project. Now, I don't know if the project stopped at the planning stage, or was it implemented? Did it happen? Did it go forward, the project?
No implement, because no have financial.
Yes. Well, finance means politics, because there's money there somewhere, but if it doesn't come through, it's political. But And that's not all bad either. This exists now. The next government may see it, and something further can happen. So it's not a failure because it hasn't yet been implemented. Well, that's the story. And do you want to say anything more than what I have said? No? You think I said it okay?
Yes.
Okay. So.
No.
You say
Any
Portuguese?
question? Any question? My friend Susanna is my translation.
Okay, all right. Does anybody want, I mean, we're going to have a general question session, but just to help her in making the presentation, is there anything that anyone would like to add, to ask, in addition to what I have said in introducing the paper?
Well, I would like to make some question, and probably we could do it at the end of the session.
But just do one question. She deserves one question.
No question.
Posso fazer I can make
No, in Portuguese. Sure. No, we all understand. Go.
Grazie, thank you, obrigado. Rosangela, a minha pergunta tem a ver com o seguinte. Portanto, no fundo, a minha pergunta tem a ver com o seguinte. Portanto, em termos práticos, este projeto não foi concretizado, é isso? Não houve financiamento. Estava em causa, quer dizer, era criar, pelo que entendemos da descrição do Michael, era criar uma unidade de ensino à distância, portanto, que depois fosse responsável por oferecer ensino à distância para que tipo de ensino? Médio, superior?
Então, eu peço desculpas à plateia por não falar em inglês, né? Agradecer também a oportunidade de estar aqui socializando, né, e trocando aí com as pessoas e tal. Mas, na verdade, esse projeto ele foi desenvolvido por uma demanda do próprio ministro da Educação Superior.
Da Guiné-Bissau?
Da Guiné-Bissau. Guiné-Bissau tem a sua independência há 30 anos e ela tem uma única universidade que foi criada em 2000. Então, a ideia do projeto era criar competências na própria universidade para que ela tivesse uma autossustentabilidade, não ficasse na dependência do conhecimento da Universidade de Brasília. Então, a proposta era dividida em 3 subprojetos. Um seria formação de equipe dentro da própria universidade, professores, desenvolvedores de conteúdo, pessoal de tecnologia e tal. Essa era a primeira etapa. Esse curso seria dado à distância pela Universidade de Brasília. Seria uma especialização em educação à distância para professores de Guiné, da Universidade de Amilcar Cabral. Uma segunda proposta, depois de formado esse grupo, né, dessa competência, era montar uma estrutura de EAD dentro da própria universidade. E uma terceira proposta, um terceiro subprojeto que estava dentro dessa grande proposta era fazer um curso piloto com esses professores, onde eles usariam a metodologia, né, de EAD para combater 63% de analfabetismo que o país tem. Porque o que acontece em Guiné-Bissau? A língua oficial é português, mas eles só aprendem português quando vão para a escola. A maioria das pessoas não vão para a escola. Então, nas suas casas, eles falam crioulo. Então, eles não têm um idioma que eles possam estar se relacionando com o mundo. Então, a ideia era que, a partir desta formação de competência e instalação de uma unidade EAD, esses professores da universidade fizessem um curso de combate ao analfabetismo, mas numa seguinte lógica: já que o aluno não vai para a escola vai até o aluno. Então a ideia era, o Guiné-Bissau, se eu não me engano, please, Mr. Motta.
Com licença, em que tempo foi esse projeto? Na época, quando?
Quando foi desenvolvido? Ele foi desenvolvido em 2006. Nós apresentamos essa proposta em novembro de 2006. Em dezembro, o ministro da Educação caiu. entendeu? Mas a ideia, por exemplo, Guiné é dividida em 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 províncias. A ideia era que desenvolvêssemos conteúdo e utilizássemos a mídia rádio em formato de novela para que as famílias aprendessem o português ou fossem alfabetizadas através desta lógica. A escola vai nos municípios, porque é uma região muito pobre, eles não iriam nunca para a capital. Né? E como eles só aprendem o português se forem à escola, então a escola vai até eles, porque as famílias não mandam as crianças para a escola. Então a ideia era que toda a família fosse alfabetizada com a mídia de rádio, né, em formato de novela, e quinzenalmente professores iriam visitar essas comunidades nessas 8 ou 9 províncias, ou mensalmente, aí depende de como eles iriam desenvolver isso. Então essa era a ideia, era formar uma autossustentabilidade deles. Então a gente formava essa equipe, expertise em EAD, montava uma estrutura dentro dela e eles desenvolveriam este curso piloto para alfabetizar esses 63% da população, alfabetizando através da família, porque a própria família precisa ter um incentivo de mandar as crianças para a escola. Então essa era a ideia. E por que não foi implementado?
I'm very sorry, I didn't realize that you had the slides. Let's just take a quick look and see what...
Yes.
Okay, I did say this, the partnership, and I said this. Strategic planning, lifelong learning. Somewhere I saw, yes, sustainability, that's a big issue. It's a big issue to set up these projects and make them sustainable. And I wish I'd seen this. I was reading from the paper, but those are the 3 parts I mentioned.
The interesting thing that I guess you didn't translate it was that the project 3, the implementation of the pilot course was a capacity building in the sense that it was to disseminate the access to the Portuguese language.
Yeah.
That's the thing that you did not mention. So it was to help people learn how to speak.
Yes, I didn't understand that.
It wasn't on distance education as a subject, but on language.
But the subject, the focus was on language, on Portuguese language. Yeah.
But also there's an important thing on your remarks about comparison with Mozambique, because besides it's very different in terms of size. And so on.
Sure.
But the most important thing politically is that Mozambique is of the former Portuguese colonies, the Portuguese-speaking countries in Africa, is the most stable in terms of political terms.
Yes.
Guinea-Bissau is one of the most unstable.
Okay.
So there is a tremendous difference between.
Right.
What happened is absolutely normal.
Yeah.
I mean, the government would last more than 1 year.
Yeah. Mozambique is able to attract international funding, money now. Yes.
Is it necessary to translation? I think.
No.
Antonio translated. I explained too.
Well, I am sorry I didn't realize the slides. I said most of this.
But I think it is important, it is relevant to explain that the project was born because the demand was born in the government in Guinea-Bissau, not?
Sim.
And the situation is the problem of inclusion and in relation at language. It is the problem, I think. Not? So it is the aim of the project is about to alphabetizing in relation at language.
To have a common language that then provides the basis for further development. Yes.
And of course, it has social implications.
Yeah.
Is just a contribution. If you
In
set
Portuguese, please.
because ok. Uma contribuição para você, Rosângela, para o projeto, colocar as novelas da Rede Globo em português na Guiné-Bissau, que todos vão aprender.
Não, mas eles assistem as novelas em português, eles assistem. A ideia é fazer novelas, quer dizer, na capital, em Bissau, eles assistem, mas nas províncias, tem províncias que eles não têm nem energia.
Então, mas
Isso,
eu acho que
a
essa é uma boa
realidade-
estratégia.
com certeza. Eles adoram as novelas brasileiras.
I told she that a good strategy would be create television in Guinea-Bissau in the our regions and shows the soap operas from Brazil. The,
Well, as an
in Portuguese.
outsider, I have been puzzled why the Portuguese language people aren't more successful in collaboration. I mean,
Because sometimes the language is a barrier.
well, there must be reasons, but as an outsider, I don't see the kind of cooperation. The English-speaking countries, the Commonwealth of Learning started, with Canadian, British, and other money for that purpose, and it's been very successful. And the Francophone countries do more collaboration. And there's Mozambique. And when I was in Mozambique, I was saying to them, why aren't you talking more to Brasilia?
But it's interesting because there is also a political explanation. Because different from what happens with the English-speaking world or even the French-speaking world and so on, although the French-speaking world is in a decay culturally, as you know, ever since the 70s. But what happens with us is that, for instance, we have, as we speak, we have in Portugal still a problem, that is the signing of the Portuguese orthographic agreement. So we have an orthographic agreement with the Portuguese-speaking countries. I mean, we're trying to sign the agreement, and there is a lot of opposition because it means you have to change the way some words are written and so on. And what happens is that there is the old country is obviously it hasn't enough. Is too small in comparison with the new big country, and that sometimes creates some difference. It's different from what happens. Well, in a way, you could also compare what happened with England and the UK after the Second World War. In a way, but it's not really the same thing.
Well, there are many subtle. Let's take one more comment then, because I'm conscious we have two more speakers, and then we can, if we still have energy, we can talk some more.
Just to make a comparison with what happens with Spain and Latin America, is that Latin America, there's a lot of countries that evolved from decolonization. And so there is a big country as Brazil, which is a reality in itself.
Right.
Brazil is alone.
Yeah.
Brazil is alone in Latin America. We are talking about that. The problem in relation and cooperation is because of language.
But Brazil has wonderful didactic video, for example. Why can't the video, I realize there's some differences, but here in Mozambique, what are we going to do? Start to make our own video? It doesn't make any sense. I got the two other speakers I'm worried about, so let's come back. Thank you very much.